That didn't really work. It did its job. It did what it needed to do. It broke. Hey guys, it's Mike. It's time to solve my poonch problem. If you watched our last video, you know that Iowa has a serious shortage of poonch. And there doesn't seem to be any other option but to take matters into my own hands. Fat Tuesday is just around the corner, and time is running out. But before we get started, let's take a closer look at what we're dealing with. Come on. I moved to Iowa from Michigan. Michigan has one of the largest Polish immigrant communities in the U.S., dating back to the early 1900s, mostly around Detroit, but also in Grand Rapids on the other side of the state. I first learned about poonch living in Grand Rapids. It's tradition to make them for Fat Tuesday, or in some places Fat Thursday, because it is right before the start of Lent. During Lent, Christians often give up something, usually food, for 40 days before Easter as a way of focusing on God and prayer. Once upon a time in Poland, they decided it would be a great idea to get rid of all of the fattening and sugary ingredients before Lent, so there would be no temptation to eat something too decadent while you're supposed to be refraining from such things. So they put together one of the richest donuts that had ever been devised to use up whatever butter, lard, sugar, and eggs they happened to have in the pantry. And poonch were born. But before we go on, we're going to have a language lesson. P-A-C-Z-K-I. But it's pronounced poonch. Or sometimes you hear paczki. So that's how you say it. But there's more. This is not poonch. These are poonch. Poonch is plural. This is a poonchek. If you want just one, you should ask for a poonchek. But very few people know this because no one ever wants just one. Okay, now to the recipe. We're going to start by scalding 1.5 cups of milk. We don't want to boil it, we just want to get it hot and then let it cool back down to about 110 degrees. We do this for the sake of our yeast. The warm milk is going to start activating our yeast. If it's too hot, the yeast will die. So we'll get it above our target temp and then pour it into a bowl to cool. Many poonch recipes call for rum. I don't have any, so I'm making a special concoction here using brown sugar, vanilla, and water. Basically making a syrup. Rum is made from molasses, and so is brown sugar. The idea is to concentrate that flavor to get it in the neighborhood of rum as far as flavor profile goes. I'm just adding the vanilla here because it seems as good a place as any. Now that the milk has cooled back down, I'll add the yeast. 2 packages of dry yeast. Then we'll set that aside for about 15 minutes to bloom. We're going to make 2 different filling options. My favorites are apple and Bavarian cream. For the apple, we chopped up 4 apples into small bits. Remember, we've got to squirt this through a piping bag, so we can't have any big chunks. We add a 1/4 cup of sugar and then 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. That'll help thicken the mixture. Then a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon and 1 teaspoon of lemon juice. We mix this up really well and then put it in the fridge for 30 minutes for the apples to release their juices. Now back to the milk and yeast. We're going to add 1 cup of flour and mix it all in so that the yeast can start working on the flour. Then set that aside while we prep the egg mixture. We're going to use 3 egg yolks plus 1 whole egg. Whisk those together and then add a 1/2 cup of sugar and mix it up. Then a 1/2 cup of melted butter and mix. Add in 1 teaspoon of salt, and then 1 teaspoon of our brown sugar syrup. Now we add in the remaining flour that we didn't add to the yeast earlier. 3½ more cups. We'll add 1 cup of flour followed by a little of the yeast mix, and then we'll alternate this until it's all in. Now we'll pour this out and knead it for about 5 to 10 minutes. Now we'll ball it all up and put it in a greased bowl. We'll cover this up and set it aside for about 2 hours to rise up. It should about double in size. For the next filling, I wanted Bavarian cream. Now Bavarian cream is basically a custard softened with whipped cream and then thickened with gelatin. Trouble is, I don't have any gelatin. I thought about trying to substitute some pectin, but then you have to try to work in an acid and balance it with the sugar without skewing the flavor. But then I came to my senses and looked for something I could make without gelatin, and came around to Bavarian cream's American cousin, Boston cream. But then I'll make the whipped cream too and fold them together to get some of the softness of Bavarian cream. I've dubbed this new invention Bostonian cream. It might have another name, but that's what I'll call it. We started with 2 cups of milk and dropped in 4 egg yolks and whisked together. Then we added a 1/4 cup cornstarch, 1/2 cup sugar, and a 1/4 teaspoon salt, and then 1 teaspoon vanilla. Now turn on medium heat and keep stirring until it thickens nicely. Now we'll put all of this through a strainer to get rid of any lumps, so we end up with a Boston cream that is creamy and smooth. We'll cover it with plastic and make sure that the plastic touches the cream, and then we'll put it in the fridge to chill until later. Here's the dough after rising. I'm just punching it back down so it can rise again. This helps it build the structure. We're now going to let this rise for another hour. While we're waiting again, we'll make the whipped cream. We'll grab the bowl and whisk that we had chilling in the freezer. Then pour in 2 tablespoons of sugar and 1 cup of heavy cream. Now we'll jam a whisk into our drill like it was made for it, and we'll drill the sucker on high at about half trigger until we have stiff peaks that can stand without melting down. Here's our Boston cream out of the fridge. First, we'll lighten the Boston cream by folding a small amount of the whipped cream in, and then we'll add the rest of the whipped cream, scooping down to the bottom and bringing that up to the top to carefully combine them without losing the fluffiness of the whipped cream. Now we'll cover this back up and set it back in the fridge. Here comes the dough once again. Time to roll it out. Normally you'd roll it flat to about a 1/2 inch thickness and then cut out round sections. I want to try something different. I'm rolling it into a long tube, and then I'll cut out my 1/2 inch round sections. I watched a video from a bakery in Poland doing this, so I thought it was worth a try. It's quite a bit easier than rolling things flat first. Now the rounds are going to rest on some parchment paper. We'll cover these and let them rise for another 30 minutes. While that's happening, we'll finish up our apple filling. I'll put this in a saucepan and heat it to reduce the liquid, soften the apples, and allow the cornstarch to thicken the mixture. I'm adding about a 1/4 cup cider to help distribute the heat across the apples and to help them soften. Now we'll stir this a bit while it heats up until it gets to the thickness that I want. If it ends up getting too thick, just add more cider. If it's still too thin, apply heat a bit longer. I'll put this back in the fridge to cool back down and thicken further. Okay, it's finally time to get frying. I've got the cast iron skillet on the stove with about 1 inch of canola oil. Unfortunately, I don't have a cooking thermometer, so I'll have to test things to make sure that I've got a stable 350. Oh, never mind. I'm just gonna put in 4 rounds right away like a noob. It's like they say, do as I narrate a few days after the fact, not as I do in camera. Or something like that. I was timing these at about 90 seconds on the first side, and then 60 seconds on the next. The outside color looks nice, but as you can see, the middle is still raw dough. For poonchki, bite the dust. Next, I was smart enough to use some of the end bits that are about the size of donut holes. I could tell that the temp was too high, and unfortunately cast iron is hard to bring back down once you've got it heated up. I decided my best bet would be to add some more room temperature oil and reduce the heat. Be careful if you do this not to splash any oil. By about the fourth end bit, I basically had it dialed in. Then I got smarter and did just one poonch at a time, adding more after I had tested things. Now for the filling. I ended up with about a dozen good poonchki after the frying failures. 6 I filled with our Bostonian cream in a piping bag. Then I reloaded the bag with the apple mixture for the next 6. I still had trouble with clogs from the apple chunks. They should have been about half the size that they were. You basically needed to mince the apples unless you have a machine-powered filling squirter that can power the apple chunks through. But in the end, I've got 12 really nice poonchki that look beautiful. We just need to see how they taste. Hey guys, are you ready for a taste test? Or what are they called?
Poonchki.
Yes, poonchki.
That's a silly name.
Do you guys know what language poonchki is?
Spanish.
Ooh, nope.
Canada.
Nope, not Canada language.
Italian.
No, all good guesses. Polish.
Oh, Poland.
What country? Yeah, Poland, you got it. High five.
Poland.
Which one do you want, guys? You can pick an apple on this side or a cream.
We're picking the same one.
Oh.
I want this. Apple. Yeah.
I'm gonna take a cream. Well, how about you guys? What do you think? Are the donuts good?
Yum.
I'm gonna try mine here. That is good.
Poonchki.
Okay, there's the cream in the middle there. It's a neat combination of soft and dense. It's definitely not light.
Cream.
Is yours coming out the top too?
Oh, mine is coming out the bottom.
It's not cakey. I'd call it pillowy. Do you think pillowy is a good word for the dough inside here?
Pillowy? What do you mean?
It feels kind of like a pillow. It's soft but kind of firm. It's kind of both.
No.
It's the best of both worlds. It turned out good. I think I've got a few modifications to try for next time. Gosh, I wish I knew how to say goodbye in Polish. Wait, let's look that up. All right, we think it's do widzenia.
We think do widzenia.
Try it, guys.
Do widzenia. Do widzenia.
Zenia.
Do widzenia. Do widzenia.
Yeah! All right. Say thanks for watching Cooking Without a Full Pantry.
Thanks for watching Cooking Without a Full Pantry. Please subscribe.
So that's a good first step. But 12 poonchki isn't likely to change the culinary trajectory of an entire state. We need to go bigger. We need to fix our problems, refine our procedure, make this more repeatable. Maybe think outside the box a little. Maybe try something new. I think we can take what we've learned, scale this up a bit. This is only the beginning. Actually, it's the middle. It's a 3-parter, so this is only the middle.